Hi everybody, welcome to the channel Lightworkers Together. This is Val. It has been more than a minute since I've been on here. I've had a lot of life things happening, as we all have done, and family members in and out of the hospital and some major things, but I felt compelled to pop on because of something really, really important. And I'm kind of just showing you all, like, the sun's going down. I don't know if you can tell from this. The clouds look almost yellow. It's actually really pretty when the sky is blue. It's chilly here, but it's beautiful. I'm trying to get like a good spot. I'm not outside walking. I was going to take us on a little, like a fall walk, but it's just too chilly for me. I'm going to stay inside, guys. So anyway, to anyone who is still on this channel after my very long absence, thank you. For anybody new who stumbles on this, welcome. You know, love and peace and harmony to all of us, for every single individual. What I wanted to talk about, and this is going to be not long, hopefully this is going to be short, is, are you afraid of love? And I feel like, from everything, all the transformations and everything that I have gone through, the love that folks are afraid of, which is why a lot of people, they come out of bad relationships, etc., etc., and they're very, very afraid. In their mind, they say, I'm afraid of love, or they close their self off or their heart off because they're afraid of love. And the reality is a little bit different, because love is not something that can hurt us, right? It isn't. Love exists within us. That love and that light is part of us, and that's not something that we can lose. That's not something that will ever hurt us. It's a really beautiful, good part of us. But the problem comes, what I have noticed through my own self, my own experiences, and those around me, is when you have a lot of individuals coming together who are not healed, because that's one of the main things, right? If we don't heal things, then we will be triggered by things. It's crash and burn. It's basically crash and burn most times before it starts. I've seen a really few exceptions to that, and there are really, really few where you see two people come together and they have such a love, understanding, they're on the same sort of spiritual path. Even though they have healing they need to do, they're able to work through it together, and they come at it from a healing space. Whereas, you know, most of us spend the majority of our lives kind of wandering around in this sort of construct that has been designed to not work out for us. It has been designed to not be beneficial. No part of it is meant to be that way. When you come into something and you have trauma and you have pain and you have hurts and you have fears, whether it's from this life or a past life, you know, or whatever it happens to be, you carry all of that into the relationship that you are building with whomever. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, you know, lover. It can be a friend. It can be a really close friend. I've seen really close friendships crash and burn, and a lot of people are drawn to one another. And sometimes, you know, that initial thing for some people, it's just attraction. It's a physical thing. In some cases, it feels like an emotional bond, but it turns out to really be a trauma bond, because the person's like, oh yeah, I went through all this. And you're like, oh yeah, I went through all this too. And really that's just trauma bonding. And that's not helpful to anybody, right? That doesn't end up being helpful to either party, because the root cause of everything is not being healed and not being dealt with. And this is why I am very into holistic healing, which is all about all of us, right? Every part of us. You have to address the root cause of something. So for many, the fear of love is simply, it's not really the fear of love, it's the fear of being hurt again. And that stems from when we are not healed, we do not make good choices for ourselves, because you have to love yourself. That's just the bottom line. We have to learn to heal those things within ourselves and truly love ourselves, not just be able to say, oh yes, I love myself. I love everything about myself, not from an ego or a physical or even a mental place, right? But from an emotional standpoint, to say, literally, I love every part of myself, inside and outside, the light and the dark, the good and the bad, the happy and the sad, and all of it. And to be able to work through all the things that we need to heal and release them, so those are not triggers. And then what happens is, when we don't heal them, and you can see it in your own relationships, I did in mine for sure, in my past relationships, and even others and friends and family and so forth, what happens is you get two people unhealed together, and then they start, without realizing that they're doing it, they will start projecting those fears onto that other person. If someone has abandonment issues, they might get to the point where they don't want to let their person out of their sight. Or they will start accusing them every time they turn around of wanting to leave them, or this or that or whatever. Or they will do it themselves to try and get out ahead of what they think is going to be happening to them, right? To stop it from happening. Sometimes people do that. They get into relationships and they're like, someone always leaves me, or this falls apart, so I'm just going to leave first, so I don't have to have that happen to me, so I don't have to deal with that. So yeah. So basically, it's like every one of us needs to take the time to ourselves to love ourselves, right? We need to truly love and accept ourselves. And healing things is a big way to learn about yourself, because a lot of times we don't even know who we are, right? To love ourselves. We don't, because we are trained from the time, most of us, that we're very young. When you have, fears, when you have insecurities, when you have pain, when you have trauma, you push it down, push it down, push it down, push it down, right? And you just push it to the back, and you be strong, and you don't deal with that stuff. Well, when that happens, we start morphing into something that we're really not. And that something is in our mind basically like this protector, right? That protects us from anything bad happening. But that never works, does it? It never works. There's always something that's going to happen. And I found that the way to deal with all of that is to love yourself. Can you guys see how pretty those clouds are? It's just really beautiful. To learn to love yourself. And when you are in that place of beautiful, unconditional love, you have inner peace. You also then come to a place of discernment, because you can take all of the healing from the past and you can turn it into lessons. And once you are able to look at the lessons, instead of having guards up and walls up and all these things that we do feel like we need to protect ourselves when we've been through things, you're able to drop all of those. You're able to keep your beautiful heart open, but you have boundaries, and you make wiser choices about the people that you let into your life, right? You make much wiser choices about the people that you're letting into your life. And that's part of it too. It's like sometimes many of us will self-sabotage because here we go. I'm trying to turn this so you can see this other cloud. In our inner being, we don't really want to go through anything again. We don't. There's a part of us that's like, yes, I'm open and I'm willing to try and blah, blah, blah. And I want love and all this stuff, because everybody wants love at the end of the day. But we have to have that love within ourselves, right? We need to do the spiritual work, basically. And then once the spiritual work is done, and once the healing is done, and we're in that beautiful, grounded, stable place of self-love, it opens up a whole new world. And you see everybody else through that lens of that loving view, right? But you also have discernment. So it's like, instead of looking everywhere and just seeing, enemies, or this person could do me wrong, or this or that or whatever, you don't look at the world that way. You look at all the beautiful possibilities, but you also are wiser, right? And so you have boundaries in place, and you will only accept somebody who doesn't cross your boundaries, right? So if your minimums, and which we all should have some, are, someone should treat you with respect. They should have loyalty. They should be honest and truthful. Whatever your list is, and it will be different for everybody. But if you meet someone and they cross those boundaries, that's when you have to be able to stand your ground, right? So let's say you meet somebody, you're out somewhere, whatever, and they suddenly start acting disrespectful to you. That's the time to cut it out right there and then, and not, look the other way of a red flag and think, oh, well, everything else about them is great. No. That's why the boundaries are important. And that's even more why the self-love is important. Because we all know when we love someone, truly love them, right, with our whole heart and our whole being, we will protect them and we will not allow anyone to treat them badly, right? Do the same for yourself. Love yourself enough that you would not allow anyone to treat you badly. You are worthy of great and beautiful love. Show that out to the world. Have your boundaries in place and only accept the best. And sometimes you're going to have to wait a little while, and sometimes not. For some people, they come through the journey, they do the work, and it happens in their life pretty quick. But I find that when you're not actively seeking things like that, God or the universe tends to bring them into your life when it's the good time for you, right? When it's the right time. And we always do need that healing time in between things that happen. I know a lot of times folks are in a big hurry, they'll have a breakup or whatever, and they'll rush right into something else, and they're not allowing themselves time to heal from whatever that situation is and to learn the lessons and apply them moving forward. So if you feel in some way that you are afraid of love, I would like to say, please don't feel that way, because you are love. That is what we are truly inside. Okay? We are that beautiful love and that beautiful light. So don't be afraid of that, but heal, because once you get to that loving, unconditional space, you're not going to have fear. You're not going to fear. You're not going to be like, okay, maybe I'll meet somebody and they're going to screw me over or whatever, because you will not allow that. You will no longer allow behaviors and things that you may have done in the past. And the same for yourself. You will not be reacting. You will be responding to things, right? And you will be coming from a loving space. So you're not going to be projecting out any kind of negative energy that's going to get the same back. So when you're in a place where you're coming from a loving, grounded, peaceful space, you're more likely to bring that energy in. And if you bring in something that isn't, or if something tries to cross your path that isn't for you, you will know it. You will have the discernment to know it. And you will be able to respond in a peaceful way and just not entertain it, right? We don't have to entertain anything that is not for our highest good. So this is about 13 minutes in now. That's about as long as I wanted it to be. I'm going to try and get on here. I'm going to try and have more of a schedule, I'm hoping, where I can get on here at least 3 times a week, because I've had some massive lessons. I've had a lot, and I would love to share it. I always think, what is the point of going through things, right, other than your own evolution, if you don't share it? If you can share anything you learn, and even if one person takes something from it which is helpful, and I always say, please only take whatever resonates with you. It's like I may listen to someone talk about something, read a book, watch a video, whatever, a variety of things. But at the end of the day, I may only take one piece of it that resonates with me. And so I always recommend the same for everybody else. When you listen to something, don't take the whole thing on board right away. Sit with it for a little bit. Let it marinate. See what actually resonates with you. And you will know. You will know in your heart and your soul what part of any message is ever meant for you and the parts that are not. And for the parts that are not, just let them go. You know what I mean? They're not meant for you. And just take the part that does mean something to you. It's like one time I listened to this video of this one gentleman, and he does a lot of wonderful, just very no-nonsense advice, which I love. But one thing he said stood out to me always, and I remembered. He was talking about, as many of us started out early being like overgivers, right, in relationships. And that's another thing. You need to have balance. And when you are coming from a healed, loving space, you are going to only tolerate something that has a balance, an equal give and take. You're not going to be standing there, again, doing the give. Or if you're the other side, the take, or whatever. Okay, you're gonna only be interested in something that is balanced and equal. And what he said was, start off slow and easy. Basically, give a little bit and see what you get back. And then if you get back an equal amount, give a little bit more. See if you get an equal amount back, and so on and so on. And that one little piece of information made such a difference to me. Because being in a place where I always was an extreme overgiver, I didn't have any sense of balance, just literally no sense of balance whatsoever. And I thought, how in the world, in the real world, do you make that happen, right? And many of you, I know, will relate to this completely because you're the same kind of person. A lot of us who are empathic and loving-hearted, we are naturally that way. So I know a lot of you will resonate with that. But that one piece of advice just made so much sense. And I thought that really will help me moving forward in everything, in friendships and everything, to not just put everything out there from the jump, which is what, when you're an open-hearted person, that's how you tend to operate. But that's not always for our own highest good, right? That doesn't always work out in our favor, as it were. So, my goal is to keep my eyes on my path. The day is coming when we are all going to be together, those who choose it, in love and peace and harmony. And it's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful, beautiful world. And I know that's hard to imagine looking at everything that is going on now. I think there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of things happening in the world right now just because there are so many people waking up and there are so many people making happier, healthier, more loving choices for themselves. And every time we do that, every time we make that better, loving choice, something positive, and we hold that light for ourselves, we're holding it for others. When we stand up for ourselves in that energy, we stand up with everyone else who's doing the same. And I'm telling you, together we can do it. So please don't be afraid of love, because that is what you are. That is what you are. Okay? So I'm going to leave it there, my friends. Thank you so much for anybody who's hung in there this long. It went over a little bit longer than I thought. Please take care of yourselves. I'm sending everyone love, peace, and unity. Stay well, stay safe, and I will talk to you all again soon. Please feel free to comment. Whatever you would like, just stay respectful is all that I ask. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.